Welcome to the Mind Myself podcast. I'm Esther, and it is my pleasure to be bringing you information about healthcare approaches, health issues, and people's health journey stories, all from the complementary, holistic, and integrative perspectives, helping you become your own best health advocate and helping you make your own informed choices because you matter. Welcome to Mind Myself Conversations with E. I'm Esther, founder and CEO of Mind Myself, and it is my pleasure to welcome our guest today, Maria Garcia. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's so good to know that I get to hear your story, and I'm so excited to be sharing this with the world. But before we jump into your actual story, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you were doing before this huge life-changing incident happened for you, Maria.
Okay, I was born in Spain, and I moved here when I was about 7. I went to high school, and then college. I graduated with a finance degree, also a degree in international business and Spanish. And after graduation, I thought to myself, what can I do that's going to benefit my career, but without going to work right away? So I figured, let me go to Germany and I'll learn German because the euro is based on the German mark. And since I studied international finance, that'll benefit me somewhere in my career.
What a great thing. So you spoke Spanish, English, and German, and you have a finance degree, and you went and lived abroad for a couple of years. And then what happened?
Then I came back after 2 years and I began to work right away. I found a good job working for Bank of New York owned company, and I was working in finance, but I only got to do that for about 6 months. And in that time, I had gotten my stockbroker license and I was about to become a stockbroker. And then life thought otherwise.
So tell us what happened. And you were living in the United States at this point, or
Yes.
Okay, great. So, and working for the Bank of New York, living in the States, 6 months into your career, and what happened?
It was Sunday. I was at my mother's house, as we did on Sundays. She cooks this huge lunch. We had a friend over. We all ate, left. And then I was in my apartment on the phone, and all of a sudden I heard a white noise. And I'm thinking, where's that coming from? And it took me a minute to realize, oh my God, it's actually in my head. And then I began to say nonsensical things such as the Red Ocean is underneath the kitchen floor. And I realized, holy cow, I can't actually say what I want to say. It's coming out different from what I'm thinking about in my head. I was freaking out. I somehow managed to get off the phone. And as soon as I did, I felt like somebody went, whack, cast iron pan right over the head. I had the worst thunderclap panic. I fell on my bed. It curled up in the fetal position. My friend came running over from the living room, saw what was going on, called my mother. She came. I started vomiting. Everybody thought, oh man, she has food poisoning. And I thought, yeah, that sounds about right. But they still called the ambulance. The ambulance came. They took a look at me. By the time they were there, I was being a little more coherent. But something was still total off. But they left me. They didn't think it was anything bad, even though my face was beginning to droop a little and my speech was impaired. So we went to the hospital about an hour later because I wasn't getting any better, only getting worse. I had vertigo, couldn't walk, straight. I needed people on either side to even walk. And so my friend drove to the hospital in feet of snow. We get to the emergency room. They make me sit there and wait for like 3 hours. Right? In the meantime,
they think you have food poisoning. And so they're not paying any attention to you, not knowing how serious this is and making you wait hours and hours.
I don't know what they're thinking. I just know I'm waiting. Right? And I'm sitting there, there are kids commotion all around. I'm just worse and worse, getting worse. Finally call me in. They do a bunch of tests, MRIs, CAT scans. And finally, somebody walks over and says, "Miss, we believe you're having a stroke." And I was stopped. And I looked at them and I thought, what's a stroke? I had never heard of the word. English was my second language, and I was only 25 years old. So I thought I'd be in the hospital for 2 weeks tops, and then I'd be perfectly fine and go home.
So what happened? So you're sitting in your chair, they tell you this, you're processing this going, I don't even know what a stroke is. And then they admit you into the hospital, and then what happened?
They admit me, they transferred me to another hospital. By this time, nobody really was able to care for me because it was a Sunday with feet of snow, no doctors could get there. So overnight, I just got worse, lost my speech, lost my mobility. And by the time I had surgery the following day, I couldn't move at all or speak.
Wow. And what did they give you surgery for?
It's a procedure, I don't know what the name of it is, but they insert a balloon through your groin and it goes up to your vein and it bursts the clot.
I see. So you were having a stroke because of clots, and so they removed the clots. Okay. So then after your surgery, what then?
I went into the ICU, my brain swelled, bunch of complications. I had MRSA.
I don't know what that is.
MRSA is a super bacteria that people get in hospitals. It's usually, yeah.
Wow. So you can't speak, you've had surgery, you can't move, and now you have this infection. And what happens? Could you communicate?
No, I couldn't communicate. They believed I was in a coma actually, because I couldn't talk, couldn't move. I'd open my eyes once in a while, but they thought, well, she doesn't see or.
And so what happened so it sounds like you could see and hear and understand what was going on, but you couldn't communicate at all. And they think you're in a coma. So how long did it take for somebody to realize that you were there and that you could do something about it? What happened?
It was about 2 weeks into it when a friend of mine came with pictures of a trip we had been on together. And she must have seen by the expression in my eyes that I was actually realizing what was going on, or I was communicating with my eyes, and she noticed. She went and alerted the doctors. They didn't really believe her at first. But that's when I think people started paying more attention. And finally, I began to move a finger about 1 centimeter.
Wow. And so how long did that take for the doctors to pay attention that, maybe, and believe that you were there?
I would say soon thereafter.
Okay. And
it
so
all
then
happened.
Go ahead.
I was going to say it all happened within 2 or 3 weeks.
Right. And so then after that 2 or 3 week period, what did the next while look like, and how long were you in the hospital for?
Well, my family actually, bless them. I always say that if it were not for them, I would not be here. They made turns at the hospital so somebody would be with me 24 hours a day. My brother, he would come in daily for 8 hours, read to me. He would just move my limbs up and down, my legs, my arms.
And did the hospital provide any kind of therapy for you like that?
No. Nope.
Wow. I'm sorry to hear that. So you were in the hospital for how long?
I was at the initial hospital for 2 months, and then at the rehab hospital 2 more months.
And did it shift at the rehab hospital? Was there some therapy there? I hope.
Yes, that was very different. I was getting therapy 3 hours a day, in addition to speech therapy. Well, that's the time I had tracheotomy, so I was not able to speak at all. I spoke maybe a word or two.
And okay, so then you're in this rehab hospital for another 2 months. And then what happened?
After 2 months, they finally let me go home. I was in a wheelchair.
And do you think you were ready to go home?
No, absolutely not.
And they sent you home because?
Insurance limits, to be honest.
Right, insurance limits. Okay, wow. So then the journey begins on your own. Did they provide some in-home therapy at the very least?
They did. I was getting in-home therapy in addition to my family, who was Nazis. They made me work out all day. My brother would come. He would make me squat and do whatever I could do for hours. My mom, we had a bike, a recumbent bike. She sat me on and said, pedal. My feet slid right off the pedals. I could not pedal. She thought, I'll tie her feet to the pedals. And that's what she did.
So she tied your feet to the pedals so that you could actually do some movement. Wow. Well, let's fast forward a bit. I'm sure that journey was just grueling. How long did it take you to get to the place where you were living some kind of normal life for yourself?
I would say it took me something like 8 years. And that's when I noticed the recovery plateau. And I was maybe 70% recovered, which is for me okay because I'd been on my deathbed. So 70% was looking good.
Yeah, looking good. Yeah, for sure. And so what did that allow you to do at that point at 70% recovery?
I had gone back to school. I was going to the gym. I was able to do work on the computer. Mm-hmm. My speech was still pretty impaired.
Right. And what did you sound like? Okay, so like, I think you said you sounded like Marilyn Monroe with a really sexy voice. So so mostly it was a whisper voice.
Yeah, it was a breathy whisper voice.
Wow.
There was no bass.
Right. So you carried on like this for a number of years thinking, okay, this is what my life is going to be like, and what a miracle that was. And then I know there's a story in your journey. You came across something else that changed your life. Let's talk a little bit about that. What did you encounter and what happened with that?
One day I saw an ad for this program called WILDFIT with the founder, Eric Edmeans. And I thought, wow, that sounds cool. But then my second thought was, I don't need this. Why am I even taking this? My diet is good. I work out. So it's not going to make any difference in my life. But something inside me nudged me forward. And I enrolled. And I thought to myself, or I rationalized it by saying, well, I'm going to learn something new about a topic I already like, which is nutrition. And then, yeah, that was my rationalization. And then 6 months into the journey, I was like, my life is totally different. I began to hike. That was one. The bass in my voice came back. That was a huge thing for me because my voice had always been my biggest hang up. And on and on, I have 3 pages worth of benefits.
Wow.
So I recovered another, I would say, 20%, 15 years after a stroke, and long after I thought I plateaued. Nothing else can be done.
Amazing. And so tell us a little bit about what is WildFit then? If somebody doesn't know, okay, you did this thing and in 6 months later, so what is WildFit?
In a nutshell, WildFit is all about the natural human diet, the diet that we were meant to eat, and the diet by which humans thrive and not just survive.
Amazing. And so what shifts did you make in your eating specifically? Like just briefly, don't go into the whole program or anything, but what shifts did you make that made such a big difference?
I rethought my relationship with meat. Before I joined the program, I was a vegetarian. And you could do the program as a vegetarian. It's not necessarily, you don't have to eat meat if you don't want to. But I decided that maybe it would be worth my health to have some meat. Because I wasn't doing it for ideological reasons. I was just doing it for health. And I believed being a vegetarian was healthier.
Right. And so if I understand correctly, the WildFit program is 3 months, and then you carried on and just implemented some of these changes in your life. And when you went to your doctor, what did your doctor notice?
He said, "You're doing great." But like many doctors, they'll just say, "It's a miracle," They don't associate that with nutrition or whatever else.
Right. And I think your doctor took your blood pressure, and what happened? Because this was very significant, I think.
Yes. One day the PA takes my blood pressure and says 120/80. And I was like, "What?" She says 120/80, it's normal. And I thought, never in my life have I had normal blood pressure. It's always been 90/60, really low. So that went back to normal. It went back up. And I also noticed that in the cold Jersey winters, as soon as I would step outside the door, my nose turned beet red. Every time. That no longer happens.
Cool.
2 winters ago, when I realized that was not happening anymore, I was in disbelief because that had been me my whole life.
Wow. So despite the stroke and despite all of this therapy that you had to do and coming to 70%, that's amazing. And then you found something that just took you way farther along in the journey. And now you're a WildFit coach and you've written a book. Tell us a little bit about those 2 things for you and why you love what you do.
I wrote the book many years ago, maybe 2013, 14. And I wrote it because I had a life coach at the time who suggested I write one. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, no way, I can't write a book. But then he said, yes, just do 20 minutes a day. And I thought, all right, that's pretty doable. And that was significant for me because it was so cathartic. It was like seeing a therapist, almost. It was very cathartic.
Amazing. And what's your book called?
It's called Breaking into the Light, a journey of discovery and transformation.
Wow. I want to read it for sure. And I know that we're going to put the link in the notes to this session as well, so people can access that. And then WildFit Coach, you love this process and saw the benefits of it so profoundly that you decided to take the training and become a coach. Tell us a little bit about that journey and some of the successes you've had with your clients.
That was an interesting journey all by itself because I didn't realize that what coaching entailed exactly. But after I decided to move forward with the program, because I had a very big complex with my voice, and I didn't think I could do something where I needed to use my voice all the time. And so finally, I just decided to go for it. And I'm glad I did. And now the work I do is so fulfilling. Because I get to, exactly, I get to see the changes or the transformations in my clients' lives. And I'm blown away. I'm blown away. I had a woman who was 85. She had been injecting insulin for 10 years. And after about 8 weeks, she was able to stop. Her family said she was so much nicer, so much calmer. She wasn't angry anymore. So that was a blessing for her and everybody around her.
Do you have some other stories?
Yeah, I have many stories. There was a man who came to me with crutches. He was scheduled for an operation. About 7 weeks into the program, he came to the call one night on Zoom without the crutches and just starts running in place. And he was like, "Look, Maria." And he was able to cancel his operation.
And what was the operation for?
I'm sorry, it was for a sciatica.
Wow. Maybe tell us one more story.
Same guy stopped using reading glasses. I had another client who had gallbladder attacks 3 or 4 nights a week. Those are gone.
Wow. Amazing. So if somebody wanted to work with you, what kind of clients do you like to work with?
I like to work with people who want transformation in their lives, who are ready for it.
People who are sick and tired of being the same old and not getting results. Call you up. And I know you had mentioned a phrase to me, eating in captivity. What does that mean?
To illustrate what that means, I'm going to tell you a little story that I heard from WILDFIT founder Eric Edmees. He said he was on a plane one day and he was reading all about the elephant's diet. And it said, when elephants first began to be put in zoos, they were living 6 or 7 years. And the zookeepers thought, okay, I got my money back. All's good. But then in time, they realized elephants in the wild were living 60, 70, and even 80 years. And all of a sudden they thought, oh my God, my poor pockets. Anyway, they began to feed the captive elephants the same diet as the wild elephants. And the captive elephants began to live almost as long. And the moral of that story is that humans, we are eating in captivity.
Right. So eating in captivity to what? I know what you mean. I know what you mean because I've been through WILDFIT and I'm a fan as well. But somebody who's never heard of WILDFIT and never heard that phrase, what does that actually mean?
We're eating like zoo animals. We're eating what we're being fed. We're not eating the human diet or the natural human diet, what humans were meant to eat. And so we're barely surviving instead of thriving.
Right. And one of the things that we talk a lot about at Mind Myself is proper nutrition. And yes, eating the natural human diet can change everything, as opposed to what we're fed with the media and marketing and some of the big companies that just are caring about their pockets and their shareholders' benefits and not our human benefits. So if somebody wants to come and work with you and learn about the natural human diet, Maria is the place to go. Yes. Just before we leave, Maria, what would you like to leave us with today?
There's so many things, but I think the most important foundational tip I can give you is hydration, hydration, hydration. I cannot stress the importance of drinking water enough. Something to the tune of 2 liters a day. More if you're a bigger person, maybe around 2 liters if you're smaller.
Drink your water.
Makes all the difference.
Makes all the difference. So, and I think we are a society that's chronically underhydrated and chronically undernourished, even though we have so much food available to us. Thank you so much, Maria, for sharing your vulnerability of your story and your wisdom and some of the fantastic results you've experienced along the way. We are so thrilled that you're here. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being with us at the Mind Myself podcast today. We know that time is precious and you've spent some of your valuable time with us. We're grateful. If you would like to reach out to our guests directly, the information is below. And if you would like more from Mind Myself, that information is also below. Please visit our website and check out all the information about the different complementary, holistic, and integrative healthcare approaches, information about health issues, more podcasts, tons of blogs, and we even have a community page for you where you could reach out and tell your story safely, or you could ask questions and perhaps somebody else in the world is going through something similar to you. In any case, we're so glad you're with us, and we're doing this because you matter.